All domain expansions in JJK ranked from weakest to strongest. Every single one. From the domains that end a fight before it even starts, to the ones so broken their users paid the price just for having them. By the end, you'll know exactly where each one lands and why the #1 spot isn't who most people think. And we're finishing with something special. The triple domain clash from Season 3. 3 domains, 1 battlefield, the whole power system under pressure. Let's get into it. Here's the thing most people get wrong about domains. They judge them by destruction, by how much they blow up. But destruction isn't the point. The point is, once you're inside, can you get out? Some domains give you a fighting chance, some trap you in rules you can't break, and some don't even need a barrier. They just open and the fight is already decided. That's the only thing that matters on this list. Now let's find out where each one lands. Number 13, Graveyard Domain, Smallpox Deity. A coffin, a gravestone, a countdown from 3. If you don't escape before it hits 1, you die from smallpox. Not from slashes, not from fire. Smallpox. For a special grade curse, this domain is embarrassingly slow. Maki's brother countered it with simple domain. Maki herself broke out before the count even got dangerous. The concept is creepy. The execution is the weakest in the series. But at least it has a concept. The next one barely got to show us anything at all. Number 12, Threefold Affliction, Yosuke. We never really got to see this one. Yosuke opened her domain right at the end of her fight with Sukuna. The idea was simple, guarantee her most powerful construct lands. It didn't matter. Maharaga shattered it before she could even activate her technique. Domain open, domain gone, fight over. A domain we never saw fully used cannot rank higher than this. Potential means nothing without proof. At least the next one has proof, just not the proof you'd want. Number 11, Chimera Shadow Garden, Megumi. Incomplete, no guaranteed hit. Needs an already enclosed space just to function. On paper, this should be last, but here's what keeps it off the bottom. This domain does things no other domain in the series does. It punched a hole through Dagon's sure hit from the outside. It flooded an entire gymnasium with shadow, and pushed a culling game player to his absolute limit. And it's not even finished yet. The ceiling on this domain is genuinely unknown. But until we see the completed version, incomplete is incomplete. Now we leave the bottom tier, and the domains start getting serious. Number 10, Deadly Sentencing, Higuruma. No fire, no slashing, no guaranteed hit. Just a courtroom. And somehow, this domain made Sukuna sweat. Higuruma walked into the final battle, opened Deadly Sentencing, confiscated Sukuna's curse tool, and handed the King of Curses a death sentence. 1 domain activation. The most powerful character in the series suddenly fighting with one hand tied behind his back. That's not a weak domain. That's a domain that understands exactly what it needs to do. The reason it sits at 10 is consistency. The verdict changes every time. You could get confiscation, you could get death penalty. Even Higuruma doesn't know. And a domain you can't fully control has a ceiling. But the next domain, full control. Absolute rule, no exceptions. Number 9, Time Cell Moon Palace, Naoya. Move inside this domain and your own cells tear themselves apart. 24 frames per second, that's the rule. Break it, even by a fraction, and the cuts start appearing all over your body. Keep moving and you lose a limb. The domain doesn't just trap you, it turns your own movement against you. The problem is one blind spot that completely breaks it. No cursed energy, no targeting. Maki walks straight through it and ended the fight. One character with a specific condition and the whole domain falls apart. That blind spot is the only reason it sits here. The next domain has no blind spots, just pure destruction. Number 8, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, Jogo. Step inside and the heat alone ends you. Not the magma, not the guaranteed hit, just the ambient temperature of an active volcano is enough to finish the average sorcerer before the domain even does anything. Against anyone outside the very top of this list, it's an instant win. The reason it sits at 8 is simple. We saw what happens when it meets a more refined domain. Gojo opened Unlimited Void and Coffin of the Iron Mountain disappeared like it was nothing. Refinement beats destruction every time. And speaking of refinement, the next domain is one of the most mechanically clean in the entire series. Number 7, Horizon of the Captivating Skandha, Dagon. Beautiful domain, terrifying sure hit. The fish don't travel toward you, they don't chase you, they manifest directly on you at the exact moment of impact. You cannot block something that doesn't exist until it's already hitting you. This domain held off Naobito, Nanami, and Maki at the same time. 3 high-level fighters completely overwhelmed by an endless swarm they couldn't defend against. It only lost because Toji entered from outside, and Toji is Toji. Mechanically, this sure hit is one of the most unstoppable in the series. Clean, fast, unavoidable. But the next domain doesn't just hit you, it makes you unkillable. Number 6, Idle Death Gamble, Hakari. A pachinko machine, a romance manga, a 1 in 239 chance. This sounds like the weakest domain on the list. Hit the jackpot and you get unlimited cursed energy, automatic reverse curse technique, regeneration faster than Gojo, faster than Sukuna. For 4 minutes and 11 seconds, you literally cannot be touched. and Hakari hits the jackpot at a rate that makes the odds irrelevant. The only reason it sits at 6 is what happens before the jackpot lands. In that window, Hakari is vulnerable. And against the top 3 on this list, that window is all they need. The next domain doesn't have a vulnerability window. It's dangerous from the first second it opens. Number 5. Authentic Mutual Love. Yuta. Every curse technique Yuta has ever copied loaded into this domain as weapons. The sure hit isn't fixed, it changes. Yuta chooses which technique to embed and the domain delivers it with guaranteed precision. Hundreds of katanas scattered across the battlefield, each holding a different ability, and only Yuta can activate them. This domain forced Sukuna into casting Hollow Wicker Basket continuously just to keep the sure hit neutralized. Half his arms, half his mounts, occupied, just to survive inside Yuta's domain. Think about what that means. The King of Curses had to dedicate half his resources just to not get hit. That's a top 5 domain. But the next one doesn't just pressure Sukuna, it manipulates something even Sukuna can't cut. Number 4. Self-Embodiment of Perfection, Mahito. Inside this domain, Mahito doesn't need to touch you. He touches your soul. And your soul has no defense, no armor, no cursed energy reinforcement, no technique that protects it. The moment this domain opens, your soul is exposed and Mahito can reshape it however he wants. Nanami, one of the most experienced sorcerers alive, called this domain an almost guaranteed victory. Not for him, against him. The only counter is Yuji, one specific person whose soul Sukuna happens to share. Outside of that exact matchup, this domain ends the fight the moment it opens. Top 4, no argument. The next domain doesn't just threaten the soul, it threatens something you can't even see coming. Number 3, Womb Profusion, Kenjaku. No barrier, no outer shell, nowhere to run. Most domains trap you inside a closed space. Womb Profusion expands directly into the surrounding airspace, which means there is no outside. You cannot escape to somewhere the domain doesn't exist. Kenjaku opened this against Yuki Tsukumo, a special grade sorcerer, and stripped her domain down to nothing in seconds. Tengen, one of the most powerful barrier users in existence, struggled to even locate and dismantle it. Barrierless domains are in a different class, and this one is the most refined barrierless domain we've seen outside of the top 2. And now we're at the top 2, 2 domains that exist on a completely different level from everything else on this list. Number 2, Malevolent Shrine, Sukuna. No barrier, 200 meters of pure destruction. Everything inside that radius gets hit by cleave and dismantle simultaneously, non-stop, without pause until there is literally nothing left. Sukuna doesn't close the barrier, and that's not a weakness. That's the binding vow that makes the range possible. Shibuya, city blocks gone, hundreds of people, 1 domain activation. During the fight with Gojo, he used it 3 times, changed its conditions mid-battle, narrowed the radius to concentrate output, and still pushed the strongest sorcerer alive to his absolute limit. This is the most destructive domain in the series. There is only one reason it sits at 2, and that reason is this. Number 1, Unlimited Void, Gojo. No slashing, no fire, no physical damage at all, just everything, all at once, forever. The moment Unlimited Void opens, your mind receives infinite information simultaneously. You see everything, you feel everything, you process nothing. Your body stops, your thoughts stop. You are completely aware and completely paralyzed at the same time. Gojo used it for 2 seconds in Shibuya and left hundreds of people catatonic, without damaging a single one of them. He can shrink it to the size of a basketball, expand it to cover a city, change the hardness of the barrier mid-domain, make the outer layer stronger than the inner. And when Sukuna fought it, the greatest fighter in JJK history, he needed a specifically engineered counter-strategy just to survive inside it. No other domain forced that. Not the fire, not the slashing, not the pachinko machine. Unlimited Void is not the most destructive domain on this list. It's something worse. It's the one domain where the moment it opens, the fight is already decided. That's every domain ranked, but we're not done yet. Season 3, Episode 12, Sendai Colony, Yuta, Ryu Ishigori, Takako Uro, 3 fighters pushed to their absolute limit, 3 domain expansions activated at the exact same moment. This had never happened before in the entire series, and the result wasn't what anyone expected. Here's what the series taught us about domain clashes up to this point. 2 domains clash, the more refined one wins. It swallows the weaker domain. The sure hit activates, fight over. Clean, simple, one rule. But 3 domains simultaneously breaks that rule completely. Here's what actually happened. When Yuta opened Authentic Mutual Love, Ryu opened his domain, and Uro opened hers at the exact same moment, the sure hit effects didn't just cancel each other out. The conflicting conditions from 3 different domains created too much pressure on all 3 barriers at once. None of them could fully form. The environments collapsed before they even finished materializing. 3 of the most powerful fighters in the culling game opened their best techniques simultaneously, and all 3 got nothing. No sure hit, no guaranteed advantage, no winner. Every fighter came out the other side technique depleted, cursed energy drained, back to zero.
Think about what that means for the power system. Domains are supposed to be the ultimate weapon, the move you save for when nothing else works. The moment you open a domain, you're betting everything on it. 3 fighters bet everything at the same time, and the power system looked at all 3 of them and said, no. This moment matters beyond Season 3. It tells us something about how domains actually work that the series had never shown before. Refinement decides a 2-way clash, but 3-way clashes don't follow refinement rules. They follow physics. Too many conflicting conditions in the same space, and the barriers simply cannot hold, which means in a large enough battle, opening a domain isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's the mistake. That's the triple domain clash. The moment JJK showed us that even the most powerful technique in the series has a breaking point.
Every domain ranked, the triple clash explained, but here's the thing that's gonna bother some of you. Sukuna's domain wiped out an entire city. Unlimited Void never did that. So how does information overload beat pure destruction? Because destruction has a counter, refinement has a counter, even Malevolent Shrine has a counter. Unlimited Void forced Sukuna, the most powerful fighter in this entire series, to engineer a specific strategy just to survive inside it. No other domain did that, not one. That's why it's number 1. Now drop your ranking in the comments, especially if you think Sukuna deserved the top spot. That argument is exactly what this video was made for.